Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Hercules and the Space Gods, I'm proud to bring you the URANTIA book with host Nick Curto. Greetings and welcome, Nick. How are you?
Oh, very, very well tonight. Hercules, great to be with you, and we have a wonderful program for you.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm here if you need me.
Okay? This was a beautiful, beautiful day in Manhattan. Everybody was out walking around, enjoying the park. I was down around Wall Street, and the place was mobbed with people all around the World Trade Center, the new buildings, and I just got to say that the new transport station down there looks like something from the future. It's the most amazingly beautiful piece of architecture I've ever seen, and I highly recommend that if you're visiting New York City, don't miss it. It's the new transport center down there, and it is spectacular. No, nothing less than spectacular. Okay, so this is the Urantia Book Show, and the Urantia Book means a great deal to me. Um, I found it, or it found me, when I was in a Unitarian service. I had been attending the Unitarian Church for 2 years, and they read different books every single Sunday that they feel as though are worthwhile. So it's a wide variety of books, and I was attending for 2 years, and then that Sunday morning, for the very last reading, the minister said, "I am now going to read from the Urantia book." And I thought to myself, I've never, ever heard of that book. It sounds maybe Eastern Indian or something like that. And so he proceeded to read two paragraphs, and I can honestly tell you that it was like being hit by a spiritual truck in a very wonderful way. I was stunned by the beauty, by the honesty, by the content on such a high level. And after two or three paragraphs, he said, "That's it for our service. Go, go now, go in peace." And everybody left the church, a beautiful church, All Souls Unitarian Church here in Manhattan on the east side. And to tell you the truth, I had to stay in the church in my pew for about 20 minutes. Literally, I was just amazed at what I heard, and I actually had to calm down a little bit. And then I went home. I could walk home, and all along the way, I was thinking, Urantia, that funny word. I didn't want to forget it because I wanted to look it up, which I did. And then I found a group of people who are longtime Urantia book readers in an expo in Midtown. So I went to the expo, and there was a whole room of spiritual tables for different spiritual callings and religious callings. And I opened the door of that big room, and all the way in the back, I saw this big sign, URANTIA, Urantia. I thought, oh, here we go. So, like a heat-seeking missile, I went all the way to the back of the room to talk to the people, and people were giving me all kinds of brochures and business cards on my way because, again, it was packed with other spiritual groups and religious groups. And I thanked him. I took all of that, and I got to the Urantia table, and I said, "I just recently heard of this book. I have a million questions, if you permit me." And they said, "It would be our pleasure to answer what we can of the Urantia book. And in 5 minutes, we're going to be on the main stage. We get that once this whole weekend, and it's in 5 minutes. Why don't you come and join us and see our presentation, and then come back to our table, and we can take it from there?" So I happily accepted that. I heard their half an hour presentation, and I felt as though I had known every single person there all my life. They seemed like family to me. It was such an amazing feeling. I went back to the table, and I fired a lot of questions at them, and they couldn't have been nicer and answered the questions. They said, "We have a study group in Manhattan run by Robin and Helene Jorgensen in the Soho area." I contacted them, and I was there for a good 20 years at least every Tuesday night. It was an amazing meeting. They read every single page of the book, and then they would stop, and then they say, "Any discussion?" And we could ask questions or comment. It was a great way to go through the Urantia book with other people, other readers. And I am so grateful to Robin and Lee Jorgensen always for giving me that opportunity. I'm now a member of the URANTIA Society of Greater New York, and there are members in Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York City. And it's a wonderful, wonderful group. More about that later. And now, my featured guest for tonight is a longtime friend of mine, a dear, dear man who's a longtime Urantia book reader, John Lambo. Welcome to you, sir. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Nick, and hello, whoever is out there.
We have a lot of people that will be looking at this program who have never heard of the Urantia book. So this is an opportunity for them and to get a little more familiar of what is in this book. So I'm going to start, John, with your interview right from the very beginning. So tell me, please, where you were born and where you make your home currently.
I was born in Staten Island, New York. I am currently living in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So I'm one of the society members who live in Connecticut.
Absolutely. And you've been in that society for many, many years.
Oh, before it was a society, I was with these people. Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, wow. So, and again, I so enjoy the society, and they put special equipment in there. So now anybody can look at their meetings through the internet, through the Zoom, which is, again, a fairly new thing that they invested in. And we have people now, when we have a meeting, a major meeting every few months, that they can access that. And that's a wonderful device that they install to help people who can't make the meetings face to face. So now, John, tell me, how did you find the Urantia book, or did the Urantia book find you? How did that happen?
That's a good question. I don't know which is which. I think we found each other. I was friendly. This gentleman, my friend from high school, we were hanging out after that. It was 1981, and he started telling me about this book. And he was looking at it more from a different perspective, but he was telling me about the book and the parts of the book, and I eventually got a copy of it. And during that time, Nick, I think looking back, I was probably going through a spiritual awakening or a spiritual crisis, because around the time I found the Urantia book, I also got involved with the Catholic charismatic movement, which is it's a Catholic movement, but it harkens back to it has some sort of a Pentecostal flavor to it, with people speaking in tongues and getting slain in the spirit and things of that nature. It's not the traditional Catholicism that we may be familiar with. So, I found the book. I wanted a copy of it. And Nick, at that point in time in 1981, although a lot of people still don't know about it, it is pretty much available based on the hard work of the society and the foundation and all the people that wanted to see it out into the world. But at that point, all I could go to get it was to Weiser's occult bookstore in Manhattan, which I did, of course, and I was reading it, and I was just overwhelmed with the content. But I was also conflicted with the content. And I wrote to the foundation, the publishers of the book, and I said, I found this book, but what about speaking in tongues? What about getting slain in the spirit? What about the virgin birth? What about the Blessed Mother? I had all these questions because I was so conflicted. They seemed at the time to be at odds with each other, the Catholic theology and the Urantia book. I got the most beautiful letter back from them that started my journey with the people involved in the readership. And basically, what this gentleman said, I forget his name, he said, John, it's not about being slain in the spirit. It's not about speaking in tongues. What it's about is developing and having a close relationship with God. I have goosebumps now telling you the story.
Me too.
Because it just took all the conflict away from me. I could have both. I could be fully engaged in the Catholic Charismatic movement or any other religion out there and still, enjoy the teachings and learn from the URANTIA book. That was 1981, and I've been a student of the book, a friend of the readership, ever since. And you're one of those friends, Nick. I mean, how much I enjoy you and how you've helped me in personal issues over the years, and I'm
Well,
very
thank you for
grateful for
saying.
that. You're an example of who's out there.
Well, thank you for saying that, John. Absolutely. And I found what you're saying is
Nick, I can't hear.
absolutely. Is this better?
No.
Closer then. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, the sound just died suddenly, and we could hear your words, but it's very faint.
Is this better?
A little bit, but not by much.
Not as much. Let me go closer. How is this?
That's better.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened again. I'm sorry, but I'll keep my voice up so that you can hear me. I'm going to be, my face is going to be big on the screen, but it
That's
looks like
okay.
1984 here. Okay. John, again, what you're referring to is the amazing people that have embraced this book. And I felt immediately that I was in a very special family of spiritual people. And to this day, absolutely true. They, it's really brotherhood and sisterhood times a billion. And I've been to many study groups around the world because when I travel, you can find out if there's a study group in the area where you're going to be. And
Mhm.
if you call them, they will invite you to join them for reading the book in a private home. I've been to Hawaii, I've been to Texas and other places, and it's been a joy to meet other readers of the Urantia book. And we read that in a group, and they have questions, and it was an amazing experience. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone to other study groups?
I have, but not as extensively as you described. Pretty local to the tri-state area.
It's a really good experience, and
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single time I felt as though I was with family. Absolutely.
Yes, I feel
Okay.
very comfortable. Yes, like in different states, New
Right,
Jersey, Massachusetts, of course, New York,
right.
Connecticut. Yeah, very warm and inviting and comfortable.
Well, absolutely true. And you've been to many of the big meetings they have every so often. Tell our viewers a little bit about that experience. Like, what's there when you go to those kind of meetings?
Well, there are, for instance, Nikki, I think you and I we were at two of them, at least two of them together. We were in Colorado
Yep,
and we were in Georgetown
yep.
together. Um, what was a beautiful example of the Colorado conference was that anyone who wanted to put on a workshop could put on a workshop. There was no judgment, there was no censorship. Of course, there was some rules of timing and things like that, but it's just everyone's opinion is respected because, as you can imagine, we are not asking, the renter movement is not asking for you to give up anything. They want to add to what you already have. So there are people of the Jewish faith and the Christian faith and the different denominations of Christian faith who have been raised differently culturally from another country, all invited to share their point of view and how the Urantia book impacts their point of view. So that's what you get at these conferences. And because of that, you really don't know what you get. You just know that you're going to have flexibility and you're going to have creativity, and you never know what's going to come at you because we're all
You're
individuals.
identifying something really important, and the fact that people are from various spiritual backgrounds.
Yes.
Um, and they are together in a group, speaking about the Urantia book, speaking about their own background and what's going on with that, and as brothers and sisters, and it's such a strong feeling again of family, like the best aunts and uncles you've ever had, so to speak,
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
best favorite cousins. It feels like that, and it's a dynamic group. It really is, and we're all in it together, and we're all in it to learn and to get closer to God. That's the bottom line.
And I don't know if you shared the fact, the parts of the book, but the last part of the book is the life and teachings of Jesus. Now, having said that, I have learned so much about the Jewish faith from the people that are in our society and in our group. So, the gentleman that formed a group, the group that you and I are in, Nick, he went to he went to see his wife in the hospital, who gave his when they had their first child. He went home that night and died. And what we were so I was part of the Shiva. Never even knew the word, what the word meant. I was part of the bris. I was part of the all the Jewish traditions that go on, and I'm not Jewish, but it was just that's just an example of how the diversity of our readership and
One
how
more
you
thing
could
I
learn
want
from
to
it.
One more thing I want to add to what you just said was when I went to a society meeting, they pick somebody 2 months before the meeting, and they say, "Would you please honor us by developing a worship service that you would do?" So, in other words, it's not a person who would be a priest or someone who would be doing a worship service. It's the people, in a way, the congregation that is doing that. And so, what happens is that a person, say from the Jewish faith, will present. Oh, am I okay on this? I'll present uh, the Urantia book from their viewpoint, or
Mhm.
they pick certain passages that really mean a great deal to them. They might bring some music to play at the worship service that is beautiful, and you feel as though you're closer to God, and it's from their own background. So if you get someone from, say, the South or the North, or from a different country, speaking a different language, sometimes they will come up because of their background with a unique worship service for or society members. And I thought that was incredible. And when someone, I was there for maybe 6 months, and um, they turned to me and they said, "Nick, would you do our next worship service?" Wow, that was like, oh boy,
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a worship service for these people. And so I thought, what kind of music? What do I want to put from the Rancher book? We're going to be reading. And I developed a script, so to speak, for that. And I did that, and it was one of the joys of my life to perform a worship service for those members of the society. And boy, it's when you start doing that, you're you're really a part of the whole process, and it's just a joy. And I love doing that. I've done several of them over the years now, and I look forward to doing more. Have you ever done any worship services?
I have, yes. And like you said, I put my own bent on it, and it reminds me, your story reminds me of a key phrase in the book, uh, unity, not uniformity, right? So
Yeah.
what you just described is exactly that. Not uniformity, but certainly unity. Yes, I have done several worship services. And the last one I did was I based it on the prayer of Saint Francis. That personally touches me, that prayer, and I lined it up with key phrases from the Urantia book that resonate with me in regards to that prayer.
I want to also ask you another question, which is, when I told my parents that there was a very special book, a spiritual book that was meaning a great deal to my life. And they said, "What is that?" And I told them, now my father's younger sister is a nun in the Catholic Church, a wonderful woman. I've always loved to be with her. She's a lot of fun. She's very short. The Italian side of my family is very short people, and the Irish side of my family is very tall Irish, and a lot of cops, as a matter of fact. So, anyhow, so it was a story of all these various people. And when I told my parents that, they said, "Well, tell us more about it." And I said, "I can tell you this, don't be worried about this, about me straying from anything. I feel closer to Jesus and God through the Urantia book than ever before." I said, "So if anything, I'm closer." And I was I was in college. We had a group of Catholics that would assemble, and I was the head of that. So I have a lot of experience with the Catholic faith and with all that goes with it. And at one point, I was going to be a priest. I really thought around 1920, perhaps a priest would be the way to go. So, but I decided instead to go to my creative end and to do creative work, which was my life work, which I've been doing now. But what happened when you told your relatives or parents or whatever that you had a spiritual book in your life that meant a great deal to you? Do you recall?
I do recall. I do recall because I bring it up from time to time as a joke to the person's house I went to read the Urantia book. So I told my father, and he was so angry with me. He was so angry that we were on Staten Island, and he would play the numbers. I don't know what you call it these days. I don't gamble, but he used to play
The
the
numbers, I know
numbers.
what that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was so angry with me that he played a number for my sister and one for my brother, and nothing for me because I was going to read the Urantia book in Brooklyn. And he won those numbers. And so my sister got 5 grand, my brother got 5 grand. So I always tell the person, or I told the person from time to time as a joke, whose house I went over to read the Urantia book, I said, "You owe me $5,000." And
Wow.
that was Leela, our friend, our friend Leela. So, but I will tell you, Nick, over the years, my father and my mother grew to love every member of the Urantia study group or society or movement that I put in front of them. They just love them. And yeah, so I mean, initially he was angry, but I don't know if he ever got interested enough to even ask me about the Urantia book. But what I will say is that whoever I bring to the Urantia book, what they're initially moved by, if not the content, are the people. And because, as you said, they are warm and friendly. And so it's the people that draw sometimes more than the writings, at least initially.
I totally understand and get that, and absolutely true. Uh, Sometimes I've gotten that feeling if I'm doing a creative work with other creative people, and you're kind of on the same wavelength. And the Urantia book is the same way. When you're on that wavelength, it just opens up so many different doors of communication.
Yeah.
And my partner is Jewish, and I said, I've got this book in my life, and um, I'm not pushing it at all. But if you ever want to know about it, I'm here for you. But if you if you if you don't are not interested, that's perfectly fine, absolutely
Right.
fine. And so um, they took a look at the book and went through it, and now they're members of a member of the society, and absolutely loves the book because it's not really a conflict at all. It's kind of like
No.
an in-depth of what we're learning, either being Catholic or Jewish. It's going even further deeper, a really deep dive into the teachings that we were learning all through our lives. And
It's
I
adding
told
to what we already know. Yeah.
I also said I described it to my friends as saying um, the what I had in the Catholic Church, to be with all due respect, was like a black and white single speaker version, and the Urantia book through the life of Jesus is a three-dimensional stereophonic sound, big screen version of his life. And I can you understand what I'm saying here? It was that kind of a huge tapestry of deep information.
Well, that's what initially got me interested in the URANTIA book, because as I mentioned at the time, I was getting involved in the Catholic charismatic movement. And I said, oh, there's a part of the book that's about Jesus, which is the last part. And I read that part first. And then I
I
went
did too,
back.
John. Me
Yeah.
too. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. And then it seems to be that the whole rest of the book is a precursor to the fourth part of the book. This is this is the Jesus, right? Not just he's in relation to the thousands, hundreds of thousands of other planets and worlds and universes. This is the Jesus. So, as you said, adding to what we already knew.
One other thing too I want to add is that I've always been a ufologist. I've always really dug very deeply into the possibilities of life on other planets, of contact, of what that would be like. um, I've been to planetariums. I've read many, many books on the subject, and I became a ufologist very, very early in my life. And the Urantia book has so much more information. Uh, and one of the chapters which blew me away, literally blew me away, was the government on another planet,
On a neighboring planet. Yep.
on a neighboring planet. And I went, oh my God. I mean, I did not expect that at all. And I read every word of that. And I think I almost fell off my chair of the detailing of that chapter. And one thing I just want to put here is that the take home thing for that chapter was they said in our society, the society on another planet, which is very close to your Earth, we call your Earth Urantia. And this particular planet and the government uh, they went into detail and they said there is one thing that is the worst crime of all. And if anybody does that crime on our planet, the punishment is death. And what it was, what the Urantia book says is betrayal of public trust. Wow. In other
Yes.
words, if you are a person in politics, whatever that happens to be in another planet, and people are trusting you with their resources, with their lives, so forth, and you betray that, you should die because that's the worst crime of all. Now, John, I got to say, can you imagine if we had that on our planet?
Oh, there'd be nobody left.
You know, you're right. I mean, because all the things that are opening up now about all the crimes that we never knew about that
Right.
now are in
Exactly.
the headlines of all
Exactly.
these various reports especially in the last few months with the new election. And if we had that rule, there would be a whole new bunch of people in Congress and every
Right.
place else. With all due respect, there are some good people there, but most of them, I have to say, have some serious, serious problems and issues of public trust.
And it does say, in addition to, it does say death, but it does say the sentence is, I believe, sure and swift. I think are the words that they use. So it's,
Oh,
it's
that's
a black and white thing. You betrayed the public trust. See ya. So
yeah. I thought that was incredible. And they
yeah.
also describe the planet itself, how it's laid out, and the people and their lives. I'm telling you, if anybody out there is a sci-fi fan, don't miss the Urantia book and don't miss that section the government on another planet. It will
Right.
absolutely blow you away.
And in some ways, it's similar to ours, but to your point, in some ways, it's very, very different. You know, they talk about retirement age and Social Security and working, earning a living, but there are some pretty extreme differences as well.
No, absolutely, but it is an amazing, amazing chapter, and I've read that many times, and I'm still I realize more about the details every time I read it because
Yeah.
it's so laden with detailing, and it's an amazing chapter, absolutely. Again, going back to the life and teachings of Jesus, that's the part four of the book. It's four parts, and the fourth part is that. It's certainly my favorite part, and
Mine
I
too.
feel like I'm sitting next to Jesus. I'm listening
Yeah.
to him, and I'm seeing him as a real
Yes.
person with challenges of his life in his times. And that gets, I think, much more vivid by the description of the Urantia book. It really it gets behind the headlines into the real people that are surrounding him, that are
Yes.
following him. And uh, did you find that too, right from the very beginning of that particular section of the book, that it made you feel closer?
Oh my goodness. Yes, exactly. You know, there is Mary Chapin Mary Chapin Carpenter's song. I forget the name of it, but in the body of the song, one of the lyrics is Jesus knows my name. And now that I know the Rancher book, it just means so much. He does know my name. He does know me, John, as a person, you know, an individual being worthy of his attention and his love. So yes, I do feel that, and I feel like I have a deeper knowledge of him, what he went through. I feel like he understands us, and as I said, me. So yes, that's certainly the case for me.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience. It's an experience, really. It's not just reading a book. It's a whole experience that really will change your life for the better. Absolutely. I think I would have had a good life without it, but with the book, it gives me so much more.
I
And I'm
filter
grateful,
everything.
grateful for the book. One thing I wanted to run past you is that um, all my life, uh, people have passed on, like in most other lives too. And
Sure.
when you start losing a friend, you start losing a mother or father or a dear brother or maybe an aunt or uncle or grandma, grandpa. And it's a very challenging issue in your life, certainly in mine, to to try to cope with losing someone that you love. And
Yes.
the Rancher book, if you could go into it a little bit about how it helped you to get through that, and if there's any passages or particular knowledge on that subject of they call or passing on from this world, how has it affected or helped you?
Well, as you said, Nick, when you get to my age, people do pass. And as I will someday too. And my probably most important was my son passing at 30 years old. And
Oh,
it
oh,
hit hard, even with the Urantia book. But once I went through the grieving process, which is a human process, I began to realize that I'm going to see him again. And the Urantia book details the afterlife for us. One of the things that it says is you're going to start off over there where you left off down here. You gain nothing from dying except for the fact that you're going to wake up and you're going to be in a different body, and your learning is going to continue. And if you had some unresolved or unrealized ambitions, whether it's to use your example, Nick, in the creative field, maybe you didn't have the chance to explore or fulfill the creative side of you that you did here. You go, when you wake up, if you still want to do it, there's ample time for you to do it. It talks about us taken a couple of weeks because of how we're made, the animal tendencies to get out of our systems, that there's a process for that, and it takes a couple of weeks. And as I said, we'll be able to see our loved ones, and we'll be assigned a place of residence. And it's a continual spiritualization of our being. And as soon as we learn, we become teachers as well. So it's a wonderful process. However, it is a choice. And if we don't want it, we don't have to take it. There's no hell. If we say, I don't want this, we would just cease to be. But I can't imagine anyone not wanting the excitement that the Urantia book portrays once we wake up from this initial existence here on Earth.
Well said, John. Well said. And it was a huge, huge factor for me personally to get to know that chapter and to read it and to know what's coming next.
Yes.
It really was so comforting. And everyone goes through loss, and to see, have a feeling, a knowledge of what's next. And they call it your universal career. Believe
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my universal career. Holy cow! What? And they go into it, and like you said, one of the big things was reuniting with your loved ones. Again, that's huge, absolutely gigantic for me, and it made such a difference in my life to 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 understand what was coming after this particular life. It meant everything to me. And also, I wanted to just, and you know this really well, is that when someone passes on who is the Urantia book reader, they really don't say they died. They say they graduated,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
I thought that was really wonderful to say. They graduated. They graduated from this life to the next level of their whole being. Wow.
Yes. And that brings me to the part in the book where they talk about as our planet evolves and, more and more people are living longer, that the time to leave is really not through it, accidents or illness or things like that. It's just like, okay, you've been here long enough. Now it's time to graduate. And there's a ceremony where all your loved ones come, and it's a celebration, and they compare it to the funerals that we have today of crying and sorrow and wailing, as opposed to what we can expect in ages to come, a celebration of translating to the next life,
To the next life, the next level.
the next
And
level.
that is so important. And it meant everything to me personally to read that. When I read that, I started crying because it was such a beautiful chapter in the book. And you can reread that many, many times, and you still come up with new things because it's
Yeah.
so packed with detail. And also, I got to say that when I have been to a ceremony when someone passes on, graduated, and the Urantia book readers are not wearing black veils and somber and sad. Well, of course, we're sad that the people who have passed on, but it's also a whole celebration of the joy of their lives. And
Yes.
that difference is huge for me, that it's not a morbid, dark ceremony or event. It's more of celebrating the joy of knowing them and their lives and the love. And that's paramount in the Rancher book readers' lives when we get together to honor someone who's passed on.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that was another big part of the book.
Yeah.
Um, well, you said that the fourth part of the book was your favorite part. Was any other part of the book a mind blowing experience? Something that you went, oh my God, like an aha moment? I'm sure there's many of them in the other three sections of the book. But was there anything particular you want to point to?
Well, the way you're into ufology, I'm into dinosaurs, and even as a kid. And the third part of the book is the history of the planet. And it just talks about so many wonderful things, how we evolved, the first human beings, how we evolved, how we branched off, how the animals came to be. Some of it is how we understand it today, with life originating in the sea. But, some of it is very different. Um, how the dinosaurs came and went and why they did. And so yeah, the history of the planet is especially interesting to me. And one other part that I always tend to go to when I'm not reading in order is, I don't know if it's a term that you may have to explain it, Nick, is the thought adjusters, and how we all have a fragment of God in us, and they're pre-personal beings that choose to come to us, to indwell in us, because although nothing is fixed, we have free will, and our lives could go basically in any direction, either through circumstance or our own judgment. But they kind of have a certain sense of the direction our life may go, and they volunteer to indwell us, an actual fragment of God that lives in us and helps us grow spiritually. And they term that fragment of God thought adjuster, because it doesn't coerce us, it guides us, and it adjusts our thoughts just as much as we allow it to become more spiritual. So that's another section of the book I love, about the thought adjusters.
Totally agree with you there. Absolutely. It's a huge section of understanding who we are, where we came from, where we're going, and about us as people. If everybody was on that same page, nobody would kill another person, because you
Yeah.
can't. That's a fragment of God in that being. So going to war would be non-existent. Instead of war being big business,
Right.
I've heard many people say, well, war is good business because of all the bombs and weapons by the billions of dollars being manufactured. And I'm thinking, boy, is that on the wrong level? Totally wrong. And if people realize that there's part of the of God in each one of our beings, every one of them, past, present, and future, you would honor that. And when I see, for instance, some people in the Chinese area where they bow down when they meet each other,
Yes.
and I thought, boy, is that wonderful. It was such an amazing thing to see that they're honoring that person with a little bow when they meet each other. And
Yes.
shouldn't we all have that, a sense of purpose and of honoring the beings around us, all of them, and trying to help and love each other? Can you imagine a world if everybody would accept that?
Oh my goodness. And the Urantia book tells us it may be a long way off, but we're destined toward that. We're destined for that day when we respect each other and there's peace on earth, and things are brighter. And that's another one of the things that the Urantia book has done for me. It has enlarged my perspective and has given me long-term vision of what this planet could expect and its wonderful things. So, these crazy times that we're in, it's transitory.
No, I think that when you're mentioning this right now about crazy times, I've never felt that I was ever in a crazier time than right now.
Yeah.
There's so much going on about talks of World War III, talks about bombs, talking about preparing in case there's a war coming up soon. And it's never, I think in my whole life, this is the most troubling part of my life right now, as far as listening to all this warmongering of all the different things that are going aggressively against human beings in all countries, in all countries.
Yeah.
And your Rancher book is a way of uniting every single person in every single part of our planet, and making them into a family, which we are.
Yes.
It-
And and it does talk about war. War will continue until it doesn't make sense anymore. And hopefully we're seeing that you were talking about war being big business, but there really is no advantage to war.
John, there's a saying: nobody wins a war.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah,
Nobody wins a war because each side is going to lose so many human beings. So
yeah.
many families will be destroyed on both sides, not just one side, both sides. And then the rebuilding of all the destruction,
Oh,
right?
and all that we've lost in the past, all these revelations that the Urantia book talks about, like in the history of the earth, it's news to us, but maybe it wouldn't have been news if so much wasn't destroyed by war or on purpose because of fear.
Right. Fear is control.
Hmm.
Fear is control. If you make a country, people in that country fear, then you can control them. It's a horrible, horrible path. But there are so many things out there right now in just about all the major countries that are in that mode, and it's really sad. I don't I said this before, and I'll say it again. The Urantia book has never been more important to the people than right now.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of younger people are looking for truth, and they're looking for what is going to make them have a good life, a fulfilling life. And I'm saying, try the Urantia book. Take a look at this book. And I said to them, if you'd like, go to the table of contents and pick the areas that you're most interested in, and read those first before you read from beginning to end. Because that's what I did. And it encouraged me to say, oh my goodness, look at this. Look what they're saying about this interest. I got to start from the beginning.
Yes, yes. Nick, I'd like to ask, as you continue speaking, I'm just going to take a step away. I just got a
Sure.
message that my battery is low, so I don't
Oh,
want to lose you. So as you continue, I'm just going to get the
absolutely. I absolutely can do that. The
thank you.
Urantia book is available for free on the internet. And an amazing event has taken place where people from the Urantia movement have recorded the words, each chapter of the book, in 28 different languages, which is an amazing feat to do that. And name the language on this planet, and it's probably been translated. The Urantia book has been translated into that language, and that's all for free. I'm going to give you a couple of websites that you should know about. The first one is www.urantiabook.org. I'm going to repeat it: www.urantiabook.org. That is the fellowship website. It's beautifully designed, and it has the full Urantia book on that. You can read it, or you can listen to it in either English or another language. It's an amazing event that they did this, and so beautifully done. The readers that are reading the book uh, have really captured the essence of the words, the excitement, the beauty, the love. You hear that as they're recording the pages. So absolutely can do that. Another one that you would love, another website, is www.urantia.nyc. That is from the Urantia Society of Greater New York. It's beautifully designed, and there's a huge amount of information about the history of the Urantia book, the movement, and of course all the languages too. So that's another a wonderful way to explore this, and it's for free. The third website is www.urantia.org, and that is the foundation, the foundation website. Also beautifully designed with a gigantic amount of information. Also, if you want to buy the book and have a physical copy, they're available in major bookstores everywhere, or they're also available on the internet online. Also, Amazon has it also. So there's many ways that you can uh, uh, take a look and sample what the Urantia book has to offer. Now there's Hercules, so we've got about 10 more minutes. John, I'm going to ask you, if you were to speak to someone who's never heard of the Urantia book, in a few words, what would you say to them that they might take a look at the book? What would you say to someone who said, let me tell you something about the book? How would you phrase that?
Oh boy. Um,
Come close to the mic.
what's that?
Come closer to the
Oh,
microphone.
sure. Well, I would say that I would say that the book is a revelation to our planet. And there haven't been many of these revelations. This is the fifth since our planet has been in existence. And, and it's, Jesus was the last one, and this is building on Jesus's teaching, but it's for all people. The book is for all people. And I would also encourage them, because it is 2,100 pages long, as we've been told, or no. Don't be overwhelmed or intimidated by the size of the book. It's a big book. So start where you feel comfortable. Thumb through it. Start where you feel comfortable. Some people start from the beginning. Some people start the way you and I did, with the fourth part first. But I would label it as a revelation to the planet.
Well said, John. Absolutely true. And a lot of the younger people, I think, are going to the recording of the book with their earphones and with their cell phone, and they can go about their business and listen to the
Yes.
Urantia book. I think a lot of younger people are going in that direction. We've done some booths where we have the Urantia book in a booth in expos around New York and around the United States. And when the younger people find out that it's for free and that it's online and they can listen to it or read it, they get much more excited that okay, it's for them, and that's part of their
Right.
generation. That's part of their
Right.
style, and that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
I totally agree with everything you said. It's such an exciting, rewarding experience to start reading this book. When I'm in study groups, we read passages and people stop and start to cry because
Yes.
some of it, as you know, is so heartfelt and so beautiful that we have to pause for a few moments and let people catch their emotional breath before we go on. That's the power of the Urantia book. I've never come across anything like that ever.
Yes.
And
Yes.
certainly
It has,
haven't.
it embraces every aspect of us as humans. It has the mystery that we crave. It has the drama that some people may like. It has the emotion that'll drive you to tears. There's just everything there. Everything. It hits us from all angles.
If I had one book to take with me, if I was going to Mars, I would take this book. This is the book of all the books that I
Me
have in my
too. Me
library.
too.
This is the one book I'd have to have. Absolutely, because it is so rich, so beautiful, so loving. Endless love is in this book. You can feel it.
Yes.
I call it limitless love because
Yes.
that's how it comes across,
Yes, it
and
does.
it's true. John Lambo, you are wonderful. You're the best. You're a dear friend. You're a colleague. Thank you so much for honoring my program of being my guest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored that you asked me. That was I enjoyed it. And Hercules, was great meeting you too. And yeah, see you soon.
We will, and just to round it out, take a look at the URANTIA book. Give it a whirl. Read, perhaps you want to read a few chapters that you find most interesting first, and then I have a feeling that you're going to start from page 1, and it
Yeah.
will blow you away. It's an amazing, enriching experience, and it's enriched my life and the life of tens of thousands of people worldwide, and
And
I
Nick,
highly recommend it.
and the you know, the sites, the internet sites that are free, they have search engines. So if you're interested in a topic, put in the search engine. Probably something in your entry book is going to come up. So
Really good addition to say that. Thank you,
yeah.
John. And Hercules, that's our program for tonight, and it was a joy.
And it was a joy listening, and thank you very much for an excellent and thought-provoking program. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Much love
Okay.
to all. Much love to everyone, everywhere, everywhere.
So long. Bye now.
So long.